Buongiorno a tutti quanti si sono collegati con noi in questa ultima giornata di conferenza. Abbiamo iniziato questa mattina con un pre-brief e stiamo continuando adesso la giornata e affrontiamo il primo dialogo di questa mattinata. Il dialogo di oggi, almeno questo dialogo, si concentra su una chiacchierata con direttori delle agenzie esecutive, alcuni dei direttori in realtà delle agenzie esecutive. Ne avevamo in programma 3 agenzie esecutive, poi abbiamo avuto una piccola defezione, adesso poi vi dirò tra un attimo perché Jean-David Malo non si sentiva bene e quindi questa mattina non era in grado di parlare. Allora, intanto io invece, passando all'inglese perché abbiamo un ospite con il quale utilizzeremo la lingua inglese, I want to welcome the two hosts today, Marina Zanchi, Director of HaDEA, and Marc, Director of HaDEA. And I hope that they are already in. It's okay. So can I? Oh, okay. Now I can see you, Marc, and I can see you, Marina. Good morning. Sorry, just a couple of seconds to arrange the good morning to both. And I repeat now, I apologize as far as concerned Jean-David that is here today and was totally out of voice. I was in contact with him before and was not able to participate. So, as you know, Jean-David passed to you to keep open the discussion for all the slot. Sure that will be much more relaxed in terms of times because clearly we have more time to manage, but I'm sure that will be absolutely and definitely the same level of quality our discussion without Jean-David. Okay, a very short introduction from my point of view, just to see the scene. Let's start in this way. When I was young and I was in commission, at the time there was no any executive agencies. Everything was done within the commission, in particular in the GRTD. So we were at that time managing the project, doing policy definition, priority setting. Everything was done in one single environment. But with the evolution of framework program and an increase of complexity of the overall scenario, clearly the Commission decided to optimize the process using a different approach. Initially, it was decided to externalize, in any case, within the Commission umbrella, because I repeat to people who are not very, very well confident with the concept of the executive agencies as part of the Commission in a certain way, but they operate independently from the GRTD, or at least not independently, but as two different points. So say that today, and during the time starting from 2013 with the first executive agency, the research agency, after that there was a creation in a second batch on 2021 of the other 6 agencies, and now all the so-called framework program is externalizing the management to the executive agencies. Now, we want to speak about that. We want to speak about this evolution, and we want to speak about the role that will change or will not change in the future. I say in the future, I'm project already to the post-Horizon Europe to see what was the original role of the agency, how this role has evolved, and I would add one point, at least for the people who are already fully engaged in a framework program, that know how much relevant is the role of the agency today, and that is the reason why we were used to speak with the Commission in terms of DG, FTD, or Director General in general. But now, if we want to speak of framework program, we cannot ignore that we had to have on board in our any kind of discussion also the executive agencies, because they are today very, very relevant to the effectiveness of our activity within projects and within the different parts of the program. So let's start from that. And I just took some minutes more because we are a little more relaxed due to the time. But I would like to start. Now we have two problems, Marc and Marina. We should start from ladies, or we should start from the most old agencies. Let's ask Marc if you agree. I will keep discussion again on ladies first, and if you allow me, and I will give the floor to Marina and to as a director of HaDEA. So the first round, it's just to give you the possibility to explain in very short what is your agency. Sorry, your agency, the agency that you are the director. Because not necessarily all the public knows exactly the different agencies. So please, Marina, the first round is for you, and after that will be Marc with Rhea. Present your agency in short time, at a little less restricted than the original planning. Please.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Marco. Just want to check, can you hear me? Because I have echo okay, so you don't have echo when I speak. Good. So good morning to everybody, and thank you very much, Marco. Thank you to Marc, also to giving me the first floor, Marc, colleagues in HaDEA, in REA. So just few words also, because the agency I represent as a director is HaDEA, and HaDEA is the youngest of all these agencies, because HaDEA started its activities in April 2021. So during COVID, and allowed me to say because of COVID, because that agency was created because the Commission wanted to have an agency for health and digital. Why together? Because we wanted really to have innovation in health, we want to support health, and we want to have Europe ready and prepared in case, and we hope not, future emergency situation will arise. So the agency was created in that context. And it's a multi-program agency, if I can use this word, because we cover different programs. We cover 6 different programs. And the main areas, it's of course health, and we have a big part dealing with research and innovation, but also the other program, EU for Health, which was in a way a new program, again, born with a big budget because of COVID, because it was a program already existing. This is the number 4, but before they had a budget of few hundreds millions per the entire 7 years mandate, and now we are talking about billions, around a bit less than 6 billions for the mandate. Together with this part of the area dealing with health, we also manage the food strand of the single market program, because as you know, health is linked also with the animals and plant, because we eat animals and plants as well. So we have to make sure of the good quality of life and good, no sick, no problems with plants and animals as well. Talking now about digital, once again, we have the big Horizon Europe part, cluster 4, that covers digital, but also industry, raw materials, which is quite a priority for the Commission, and space. We have also part of space, of course, the civil space, the research, how to improve the civil part of space in Europe. That's the research part, but there as well, we have other programs from Connect, the Digital Europe program, and the Connecting Europe facility for the strand of digital part. What does it mean, all this? Means that we have different kinds of projects, different kinds of stakeholders. We have quite a wide, I would say, client stakeholders. And the projects are covering research and innovation, as I said, it's a big bulk, but also, for example, the creation of new IT software, the installation of Wi-Fi in Europe, in all the commune, in all the municipality in Europe. And we worked a lot, and that's quite a novelty for an agency, also with the procurement. We buy services, we buy products. An example, the vaccines. Monkeypox vaccines, Europe was very quick in buying the vaccines for monkeypox, and it was HaDEA to perform all the procedures of that public procurement. And therefore, what I wanted to say, it's quite eclectic. So we work in the standard way of grants with call or proposals, but as well in parallel, public procurements, and we buy services for Europe in order, as I always said, to have a healthier, a more competitive, and a more independent and secure Europe. That's, in summary, what our agency is dealing with.
Thank you a lot.
Unless you want more details.
Thank you, Marina. Just a couple of seconds to because the connection indicates ask for a leg of 1-2 seconds. Thank you a lot, Marina, and thank you a lot for to be on time, but be relaxed about time. So we will come back on this point. Marc, HaDEA. The HaDEA was the first agency. We were used to work with HaDEA for many different reasons, not only because you already since the beginning start to work and to take over responsibility in part of the program, but because you was a sort of central first gate to commission for a lot of contractual financial aspects. So please start from the beginning. What was HaDEA? What is HaDEA today?
Yes, Marco and dear guest, first of all, I would like to thank you for giving this opportunity for the executive agencies to really explain what we are doing. And we try to keep a close contact with our stakeholders, beneficiaries. And this event, where you have a quite wide national outreach, is for us an excellent opportunity. So really, many thanks for opening this opportunity to us. I don't know if there is a possibility to also show 1 or 2 slides that I have prepared. Yes, I see they come on screen. Let me first start. So indeed, I'm director of the European Research Executive Agency. It is indeed, as you said, Marco, the longest standing executive agency in the area of research. It was actually created in 2008 together with the European Research Council Executive Agency, which no doubt you know as well. And we became operational in 2009. At that time, it was a bit new to outsource, to delegate program implementation tasks to a dedicated body. And because it was a bit of a pilot, we started with specific types of programs and actions that were delegated. In the case of HaDEA, at that time, it was mostly high volume operations, sometimes lower value, and open to all fields of sciences, what we call the bottom-up programs in our jargon. It is only later that the Commission has gained confidence in outsourcing or in delegating to executive agencies, and that we got more and more top-down, scientifically focused programs also delegated. So this is because I think we were able to demonstrate that this is an instrument that is fit for purpose. And HaDEA was one of the early ones, but other agencies joined and actually, I think, had a similar record. Now, what we managed today, and I have tried to picture this on this slide, under the excellent science pillar, you know, I think very well, the structure of the framework program of Horizon Europe. Under the excellent science pillar, we are managing the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. It is actually a strong brand for a program that supports the careers of researchers at different stages of their career, from doctoral training to postdoc fellowships. And we provide them support through grants where they can pursue excellent science research topics in the context of an international mobility experience, so trans-border mobility. It's a long-standing brand. You also see the budget involved is quite high. Actually, I could even say that Marie Skłodowska-Curie is at the DNA of HaDEA because it was the biggest program part around which HaDEA was constructed in the early days. A bit more recent, and by that I mean only since April 21, we have been delegated also under the excellent science pillar, the research infrastructures. Before, they were indeed one of the last program parts that stayed for long in the Commission. This has now also been delegated, in this case, to HaDEA. It's a quite political instrument, complex projects, high-value projects, which very much touch on the member states' political agenda on building research infrastructures across Europe and connecting it with the globe in more general terms. So we are quite active under this excellent science pillar. The part that we are not covering is indeed the European Research Council, which is managed by a sister agency. Now, on the global challenges and the industrial competitiveness, the clusters, which I think you are aware, there we are a quite active player. Actually, we have 3 out of the 6 clusters that we are managing at HaDEA. These 3 clusters, they are actually already a continuation of what we were managing under Horizon 2020. So these are program parts where we have good experience built up. So it's cluster 2 on culture, creativity, and inclusive society, civil security for society, which we are implementing under the supervision of DG Home Affairs. And the biggest program part at HaDEA, actually it grew to become bigger than the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions now, is our cluster 6 on food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. That is actually becoming so big that unlike many of the other program parts, it's almost a full department that is focusing attention on that cluster, together with Marie Skłodowska-Curie, that is also a department at HaDEA, a part that is focusing on that. But not to forget, because this is this cross-cutting layer that you will find in the picture about the structure of the framework program, these are the widening actions and the reforming and enhancing European research and innovation. These are indeed cross-cutting actions. Widening already we were managing under the previous framework programs. The ERA line, which is reforming and enhancing the research and innovation structure of the Union, that is partly new, partly it is a continuation of what we were managing under the previous program Science, With and For Society. But these are nevertheless important parts as well. You see the budget of widening, 2.4 billion for the whole of the Horizon Europe framework program. It's quite a significant program part, and also one that has very sensitive political implications. It's all about leveling up the performance across Europe, the performance on research and innovation. So this is a quite wide portfolio. There is nevertheless, I can manage the slides here. There are nevertheless 2 other programs. They are outside the framework program that are managed by HaDEA. The first one is coal and steel. I should actually say these are 2 new programs for HaDEA since April 21. Research Fund for Coal and Steel. In a way, it's still a research program. Even if it is outside the framework program, it is a program that is building on the assets that were left after the coal and steel community was basically stopped and was integrated in the general EU construction. But the assets from that fund were left and are used to finance research on coal and steel. And that program has been revisited. The objectives of the program have been revisited, and now it is directly supporting the Commission's green agenda. In the case of coal, it is not about subsidizing coal mines. It is more about helping coal mines to do a transition towards a new applications. Just to mention one, could be as carbon sinks in the context of the Commission's greening agenda. And for steel, it is very much on the clean steel agenda. We're actually also teaming that program up with Horizon on a clean steel partnership. It's all about making the steel industry, as you know, very energy consuming, to make also this move towards a greener production mechanism and system for steel. And then the other program, which has actually nothing to do with research, is the promotion of agricultural products. We nevertheless have been delegated to it, to us, because of DG Agri, for whom we are implementing Cluster 6, wanted us to manage it because there could be some synergies, nevertheless, with what we do under the food and agricultural actions under Cluster 6. What is maybe also important to underline, and Marco, in your introduction, you already referred to it, that is REA's specific tasks. It's a bit unique. Other agencies don't have been tasked these activities, which we group under support services. There we are managing support services mostly on behalf of the framework program. But we are also managing our participant validation services. Let me say what it means in a few words. When it comes to contracting and payment of experts, as you are aware, the framework program as a whole is relying on the peer review concept, and we are hiring experts who have a scientific expertise and, of course, are also independent. All contracting of expert evaluators, not only the program parts delegated to REA, but across the framework program, all contracting and payments are handled by REA. The only exception is the European Research Council. They have their own service to deal with expert business. And what we are also doing is this entry gate for participants to the framework program when it comes to participant validation. No participant can bid for a proposal, can sign a grant agreement without being validated by REA on its legal existence, its financial standing, its characteristics. Since already our second mandate, starting in 2014, that service was extended beyond framework program and is now covering all direct management of the Commission. So any procurement action, any grant that is awarded directly by Commission services, can be DG Connect, can be DG Employment, can be DG Environment. When we talk about direct management, participants to these programs are validated by REA. So basically what it means, if you participate in the framework program, you will first pass by this desk at REA to get your legal entity validated, and so that you can actually open a bid for a grant or a procurement. So this is actually a vast operation. REA is the biggest of the six executive agencies, which is not on itself, it's an objective. We are still very focused on the research framework program. I mentioned the two programs which are a bit aside, but still the bulk is about the framework program. 900 colleagues with a good gender balance, I would say, certainly in terms of management, and the figures speak for themselves about the number of projects that we are implementing. I would just leave it with a tagline. REA's motto is fostering excellent science for future generations, and this is what inspires us every day more.
Thank you a lot, Marc. I will stay on the last slides. We will come back on this point, on this role of cross-cutting service to all the different parts of the Horizon Europe project, because it's still a differences between the REA and the other new agencies, and we will be back on that. So now we enter in a more, let's say, dynamic exchange. So we can probably loop 2 or 3 round of discussion, of question and answer. It's not really a discussion. One very short question remain. What was the 2 experiences that you have on your back? Both of you are experienced official from Commission. When we prepared this session, I use the words veterans for both of you in terms of experience of commission in many different roles, but within the commission. Now you are on the top of one or two different agencies. So the question is, what is what of your past is still in the agency? What is different in the agency compared to your personal and professional experience in commission? Very short. It is more private question than more, but just to get a feeling about that. Marina, shall we start from you?
Thank you very much, Marco. So thank you for the veteran. In fact, I joined the commission in 1992. So over 30 years, and I was always working the commission apart of the recent years in HaDEA and HaDEA. Many things have changed, not only commission agency, but in the world. If I might say what is for me a big novelty, relatively novelty, is the digitalization. Because if I think the first 10 years in the commission, I just recall everything on paper file. I recall the future potential beneficiaries queuing up in front of the commission buildings to deposit physically their proposals. Now everything is a grant. So what does it mean? Everything is in digital, it's much fast, it's more efficient. And if you think even to sign a grant, now everything can be done in one day. At that moment, it was the post office. So that's a big change in the world, and in particular in the commission work. On the contrary, for me, something that remains very stable is the commitment of the colleagues. Is really, we want to do something for Europe. We believe in what we are doing, and the professionalism, the high level of skills the colleagues have, and I would say is a common part, commission services or agencies. With a little different, I noticed, or maybe because I get older. In the agencies, in general, because it was the same in HaDEA at least, but then Marc, you can come in. People are younger. I see a younger generations in the agencies compared with the commission, which means also fresh air, which means a different perspective, which means coming from the external world, and allowed us to have a different vision. And if I may have one more minute, a big change is the possibility to work remotely, but that's due because of COVID, not because of becoming, I would say, more veteran. And there, if I may say a word, as an old and veteran functionary, I exaggerate, is what I'm missing a bit is a team building. So it's very good, it's very convenient, it's very efficient. I can go mission, I can connect, I can be in a meeting while being aware in a mission. These kind of things is totally positive. But the presence, talking in person, it's another matter for me. For the team spirit is something that is still very much necessary. And I would like to conclude with I would say, the last feeling I have. I have the feeling during the years compared with the last century, 90s. We are more, I would say, inclusive, more collective participation. When we are talking about new ideas, new priorities, everybody has a say, particularly in the agencies. While I remember my first days, it was much more hierarchical. There was much more a rigid pyramid. Now we are more in the listening mode, more participatory, more inclusive, more co-creation. And that, if you remember the way it was built, Horizon Europe, it was also co-creation. That's my personal feelings in the last 31 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina, to have shared with you. And now, what's your feeling, Marc?
Yeah. Well, Marco, first of all, I much prefer the label veteran, because in the commission sometimes they refer to us as dinosaurs, and I find veteran is more nicer term. But it's true, I think both Marina and I have a long standing here, and indeed we, at some point in time, we took this decision to go to an executive agency, and we found a different environment. But I'm not going to underline so much the differences. Marina highlighted many of those, and I think they are valid for HaDEA as they are for HaDEA. because we are similar structures. We work, by the way, very closely together on many files, and we try to learn from each other. So what Marina told is very valid for HaDEA as well. But let me then just add where we are nevertheless staying in sync with what the Commission does. So I think, first of all, you have to realize executive agencies are meant to be closely working with the Commission. We are situated in Brussels. We are 3 metro stations away from our parent DGs. We get our building from the Commission. We have the same computer, the same tables. We have the same way of operating. And that is on purpose, because, of course, it is an instrument of the Commission to implement the framework program. And if I look back in the early days, there was indeed a need to professionalize program implementation, really bringing people focused on signing grants, on negotiating grants, on monitoring projects, and in a way separating policy activities, going to conferences, preparing briefings, legislative proposals from implementation tasks in the ID. If you separate, you do both things better. And in the beginning, there was a bit of a firewall created in between. And I refer to the years 2010 to 2014, maybe. But that period is gone. Now we work very much in a direct and a close collaboration with Commission services. It is at the moment that the Commission services are preparing the work program, where they reach out to us. We have the experience of working with scientists, with projects, and we have the first reach of the results that are being created, and we feed that back to Commission services. We help them in their role of monitoring how we implement the program. So that collaboration works very well, and I needed to underline that. If ever you are in doubt, both Marina and I, we work under the direct responsibility also of a commissioner. And in the context of HaDEA, it is Commissioner Ilyana Ivanova, Commissioner for Research, Innovation, Education, Sports and Culture, to whom we are also politically accountable. So that is really what is also about agencies. It's not being different about the Commission. It's working in sync with the Commission, as indeed, as you said in your very early introduction, Marco, as a key instrument now for the Commission to implement the framework program.
Thank you, Marc. We will go back on this point because this is one of our probably last round of discussion about the integration between the two dimensions, because it has to be integrated, and they are integrated already. So we will explore about this. Okay, let's start to the second round. I would like to introduce the second set of questions, addressing you the results of the APRE recent midterm on Horizon Europe publication studies, and what we get from this exercise is that one of the elements that people or the stakeholders highlights is the existence of a double channel now on the relation about the priority setting, policy definitions that still remain mainly in the hands of director generals, commission director generals, directorate general, sorry. And on the other side, the management, the daily of any project that is totally in the hands of the agencies. And the preoccupation, or let's say sometimes it's not only preoccupation, it's more, it's a feeling, is that there is a sort of dichotomy. In that sense, people have generated the feelings that, okay, let's say that agency manage the administrative part of the project and some other else manage the scientific content, results, and outcomes of the project. But this second doesn't exist anymore because Commission is not playing this strong role in each project, because it's the counterpart of the project manager or project coordinator is the agencies today. So now the first question is, is it right, these feelings? What's going wrong, or what we can do to improve the feelings that who is following the project, and uh, is the project well managed from commission point of view for both the sides of the administrative sides and the uh, results, the outcomes, the deliverable. So are we able today with this double mechanism, commission and agencies, to do the work as we did 20 years ago, where each director general was in charge of the administrative part and of the scientific part of the project? Start again from Marina, and now we continue with this sequence. Comments. It's not nothing of a commitment, just comments from you.
Sorry, there was a problem with the computer. So thank you very much, Marco. But thank you very much, particularly for your feedback as APRE, because it's very important, I believe, for Marc and I to have the feedback of what is the feeling of the outside world. So first thing to say, this change, separation of responsibilities was done rightly because we wanted to create a more skilled, specialized colleagues in different fields. And I want to reassure immediately you and the audience that the colleagues in the agencies are highly skilled. As I mentioned before, for example, HaDEA, we are managing programs related to health, to digital, to space. And my colleagues, I was very much impressed when I'm meeting. They have a profile highly scientific, specialized. They are medical doctors, they are researchers, they are engineering in space, they are chemists, chemical engineering, because otherwise I cannot follow the technicality and the scientific part. Having said so, we are talking about grants, we are talking about public procurement, and what they are contracts. I didn't say before, but my agency has been received in delegation the responsibility of 20 billion, over 20 billion euros for 7 years. And when you sign a contract, and grants are contract, you have always two parts in the contract, the scientific, the content, but also the administration. And this huge budget is budget of European civil citizens. And the agency, all the executive agency, we are responsible, we are accountable of the way we spend this money, accountable to the citizens, but also to the European Parliament and to the Court of Auditors. That's why we need to be very careful for the administrative parts, because there are rules and procedures. And we have both in the agency, but thinking of what you were saying, there is not a real gap, because we have a bridge. We are in constant contact with the Commission services, and there is an exchange always about the priorities, as you were saying, that remains the policy that remains in the Commission services, and us doing the technical work. So I hope, and then, sorry, I don't want to insist, but as you know, the resources is a common problem for everybody, and the time. So the agencies, we have to perform the technical analysis to follow the deliveries, but in the meantime, we are very much in constraints of resources, spending the budget, and timing. So we always have to find the right balance between these two parts. At least that's my feeling. And just to say, because I was saying many numbers, my colleague Marc. So we have more than 20 billion. Our agency, half of the staff of HaDEA, because we are currently 440, but we are supposed to arrive up to more than 500, but it's exactly half of HaDEA. And today we have around 2,300 projects ongoing, because we have also the legacy of the areas I was discussing before. So as a new agency, we received the new framework program, but also the ongoing open projects of the past Horizon 2020 or the other predecessors in the previous programs. Thank you.
Thank you a lot. Marina, again, same question to you, Marc. I'm not going to repeat the question, but again, preoccupation about separation of the two dimensions, technical and scientific. administrative and scientific.
Yeah. Yeah, Marco, it's good that this concern is raised, like Marina said. I think we can offer some elements of comfort and reply to that, I think. It is absolutely true that the staff recruited in agencies, certainly when they're directly involved in project management, they very often have this scientific background, having been researchers in labs and so on. But when we recruit them, we also pass a very clear message. You will now be recruited in a funding agency, and your role will be no longer to be in charge of the research itself, but in managing a research funding program. What does it mean? That means for me that our staff, they speak the language, but they no longer own the language of science. Does it mean that therefore we are no longer capable to give a quality feedback and ensure that the projects are properly monitored? I don't think so. I would also like to underline that how the framework program is designed is entirely based on the peer review concept that the whole world of science know very well. In other words, proposals are not evaluated by our staff, they are evaluated by independent experts who are expert in the field and whom we hire after a thorough check that they are independent. And that mechanism is also applied for project monitoring. Once projects start and we get progress reports, we analyze the technical progress with the help of external experts, expert in the field. And they assist the HaDEA project officer by giving expert advice, opinions, and we feed that information back. So I do believe that we are capable, in spite of the fact that we have so many grants to manage and that we are, first of all, responsible for a proper use of public taxpayers' money. That's why the administrative controls come in so strongly, that we are still keeping touch with the real value of the science that is being created. And a last element that I would like to add is this dissociation from policy. These days, I don't see it anymore. As I said to you earlier, we feeding our ideas in the work program definition. When we do info days towards applicants, we bring policy officers into our presentations who explain the policy context. And we have, for almost all of our clusters, we have tables where the policy officer in charge of a topic in the work program is linked and matched with the project officers at HaDEA who are managing the projects funded from any specific topic. And that creates tandems where we keep that link very close so that we keep that information flow back to the Commission, and also the involvement sometimes of policy officers in our monitoring of projects really alive day in, day out.
Thank you, Marc, and thank you, Marina, about that. Most of the elements that you pose on the table clearly are already aware to me, but for us was important that you pass the message to the public, because again, we are in the middle of this exchange of information and views. The goal of a conference like the APRE conference is to put together in contact directly who is on the side of Brussels to manage the games, on the other side our players that are our stakeholders. So okay, very, very good. If you allow me just 1 minute to reply, because we have to go to the third round now, but I would address the same question again. During the time, the presence of the agency, also during the program committee meeting, has increased in the time. And now the question is simple. Priority setting is still something that is in the hand of DGs, but we had the impression, and this is also my impression, personal impression, that agency is becoming more and more part of the priority setting definition. And that is evident, I would say, because you are in contact with a stakeholder, so you are sort of same measurement of the mood of the evolution that is on the side of the stakeholders. So, how much is correct to say that there is this trend to work together also in today, but more probably in the future, between the Commission and agencies to work together in a priority setting exercise for the future program, war programs. Marina and Marc, your fast reaction.
Okay, very fast reaction. I consider the agency always, and I took plural, I hope Marc agrees, we are the bridge. We are the bridge between the external stakeholders, the external beneficiaries, the external worlds, and the Commission services. And Marc already said a lot about the way we are working with the Commission. We are part of it. We are consulting when the Commission is preparing the work program together with the member states. They listen to us and to our input for the concrete implementation. We are meeting constantly colleagues in the Commission services, and the colleagues also at director level, not only the PO, project officer, and policy officers. We meet, the directors are coming to I'm talking for myself, but I know in REA is the same, because I've been working there a while. They are coming to visit the agency staff and to share the top priorities, to share the policy context, in order to have our project officers more aware of the context. Not only we organize workshops, I mentioned the one organized very recently, for example, on cluster 4 for raw material. You know, raw material in the speech, also the president is one of the top priorities, the access of raw material, the innovation in raw material. We had an entire half a day workshop with all the colleagues in the Commission, put in the context, dealing with the cluster 4, and my colleagues in HaDEA. And I can mention many other events. One very important on mental health, for example, where we discuss all together Commission research, HaDEA, but also Commission Sante and HERA. We were all together for mental health. And what it happens there? We, as agency, we show what we found in the external world, in the calls, in the public procurement, what are the gaps, what are the priorities. And the Commission services shares their policy views. I don't want to take more time, but I'm sure Marc can add a lot of what I said, and I hope you agree on what I said. Marc.
Yeah, well, absolutely, Marina. This is actually, Marco, you said it. We are part of the process, but we're not holding the pen. Right? That is something that must be absolutely clear. Priority setting is a political process. The Commission services, they consult widely external stakeholders, also other policy DGs in the context of RTD, who is taking the lead in preparing the work program. They do it by reaching out to other policy DGs. And while in the early days, the involvement of executive agencies may have been limited to agreeing on the call deadline and the dates when proposals would be evaluated, this is over now. There is a strong investment indeed in listening to what comes out of the project portfolio in the agencies and what messages, what conclusions can be drawn for that for the future. Let me just add one more element, maybe more specific to REA. I mentioned before that we are managing some bottom-up programs, like Marie Skłodowska-Curie. One of the richness of these bottom-up programs is that they don't come with this programming timeline, where you have a work program which is prepared already more than a year before it is published, then calls are published, and so on. In bottom-up programs, we are open to all fields of sciences. And what we realize, that we find there ideas coming up through these bottom-up programs on cutting-edge new developments in research that sometimes escape when you have a longer programming period. And this is now more and more being harvested as ideas for also future developments, future priorities. And that is an exercise we're trying to invest in more and more, in harvesting a little bit what ideas come out quite fresh from the research market, and trying to also channel that back to the Commission as indications in the context of the Commission's foresight activities. What are the new developments? But it is all about linking our activities up to the policy making. But in the end, we are implementing bodies. We are not holders of the political dialogue, but we do try to make sure that our experience feeds into that.
Perfect. You reinforce my view that clearly agency has a role, commission has a role, But in any case, both are aware that this global action has to be done together also when we enter in discussion on what should be the future, what kind of definition should take for the next world program. Okay, now we are going to have 10 minutes to manage again. I would like now to address two different questions and to enter a little deeper on your in the realities of the different two agencies. And let's start again with Marina. Marina, recently we had experience with you and with the HANCP system in the different area of the program that you manage in HaDEA to discuss about the problem of synergies among different programs, among different culture. We address in particular the relation between the health dimension and the digital dimension. So can you argue something about how much is difficult to manage program or to manage part of the program where very different culture are addressed like that? So I'm speaking to the health, but also health is not only the GRTD, is mainly program. Sorry, for the people who know, you have two different programs in the health area because you also manage a program managed directly by DG Santé. So how much you find a solution to manage it, to find a sort of alignment of all the different areas, because in any case synergies among part of the program and synergy among program is a requirement of Horizon Europe. How you deal with that? What we can do more than what we did, for example, months ago to assure these alignments.
Thank you, Marco. As you said, synergies is embedded in the legal base of the programs. Synergies, as you mentioned, the word is a challenge because we have many Directorate General, 6 to be correct, where HaDEA is dealing with sometimes different priorities, but as I always believe, the challenges are also opportunities. So the first opportunities for HaDEA is to create synergies in-house, I would say. And we have done lots of things. So we created a group of colleagues, project officers, really responsible. I give you an example, because within health, for example, we are responsible for the cancer mission. But cancer mission is not only research. Cancer mission is hospital. Cancer mission is digital. It's raw material because we need to build up a machine able to read a specific item. And that's an opportunity for HaDEA because we have programs in research, you are for health and digital. So in-house is the first step, to create this workshop where there is a constant dialogue between the project officer that deal with the area of cancer for the different angles. But now talking about synergies are very different kind of synergies. Can be synergies by design, which is very important to have. And they are embedded, for example, in the work programs. And as I said before, we are consulted by the different programs, by the different directors generals responsible of the different programs when they draft the work program. Another example, we have joint calls on digital and industry. Again, there is synergies, and synergy foreseen in the original work programs. Then you have, for example, synergy that we foster a lot as well, sequential. What does it mean? In research, we find out something extremely important that needs to be deployed. And we have the 2 programs that allowed research Horizon Europe, for example, again, in medical issues, and then deployment either in digital or, for example, also deployment through the program support to hospital EU for health. Concrete example, the wallet. Now there is a wallet for the health. Now there is a specific name I always forget, but it's a digital wallet where it's personalized and where every single citizen in Europe can have it. And when they are traveling in another country or the country of origin, they can go to and buy medicines without any prescription because they show the wallet. Another example of synergies, sorry if I mentioned, but COVID. Do you remember? Europe was the first one that could travel around with a certificate of COVID, which is health, the vaccines, but in a digital app. So all these synergies is our opportunities as HaDEA. Now, there is also the possibility of, for example, combining different funds. It's embedded in the legal basis with structural funds, research and structural funds. I can talk even more, but I know I don't have much time. What I wanted to recall is something that we did in Rome. You were mentioning at the beginning, Marco, for these synergy big meetings where HaDEA, and thanks with the great collaboration and help of APRE, we organized together, and the ministry as well, to meet together our contact points and focal points, because the different programs have different national contact point or national focal point, depending on the program, to create a network, cross-cutting network, where they can learn from each other, and that synergies as well. And one thing came out, for they are very important, it came out that is still a bit missing to be an effective synergy results, to have more clear ex-ante strategy and what we are looking for. And there the Commission is working on this part of this aspect to elaborate more strategy already ex-ante. So communication is also very important. And I conclude with this statement. Communication is extremely important to have effective synergy. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot. Now we move to you, Marc. That is the last question to you. Again, trying to manage it in 3 minutes. But it was also in the past, if I'm not wrong, we discussed about that point personally. And I will try to set up the question quite simple. REA, and you explained very well at the beginning, manage part of the program, in particular the part of the first pillar, but as a role of managing some cross-cutting administrative issues. One of the simplification steps in the more general simplification process of Commission is to have one single entry point that can help a stakeholder organization to define many different aspects one time, and not to duplicate plenty of times, because maybe that my organization applied to cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 5, cluster 6, so and different agencies are involved. So how much of the original unique reserve facility, things like that, is in the hands of the agencies today, and in which way could be possible to increase in the future this idea of one single entry point, to avoid that instead to have for the stakeholder on this side one single organization to deal with, we multiply the different organizations to deal with, to repeat the same things, to repeat the to open the same discussion plenty of different times, because this will not be certainly in the interest of simplification. Marc.
Yeah, the question is very pertinent. Indeed, the program is a very big program. We believe it's the largest program of research and innovation across the world. And it is too big to be managed by one entity. The Commission had indeed to decentralize this management over different implementing bodies. And there is by design, therefore, a risk that indeed variances in the way it is being implemented could occur. Now, this was known, and this was when these delegations were set up, this was actually addressed by setting up the Common Implementation Center at the level of DGRTD, where common business processes, common IT tools, common interpretations are centralized, and these are actually, it's a structure that is coordinating how we operate across agencies. Our ideal is that as a stakeholder, you almost don't need to know if you deal with HaDEA or with REA. You are a participant of the framework program. And I do believe that the structures we have in place have come a long way in making sure that these variances are disappearing. And where they are still variances, often it is because the program part or the instrument has its specificities. It's a pity that Jean-David could not be with us, but he has a very specific instrument, and the EIC, the Innovation Council, comes with some particularities that you need to be know of, but there is a policy rationale behind it. Now, your question was also what HaDEA can play as a role. I will not again repeat our role in central support services when it comes to expert management or participant validation. Maybe one thing I haven't underlined is the research inquiry service. There is, under the participant portal, there is a high-level entry for asking questions about the framework program. Could be, how can I find my way into the program? I have interpretation questions when I need to prepare a proposal. I have sometimes issues when it comes to the project implementation. Well, HaDEA is managing that research inquiry service on behalf of the whole framework program. And we are offering this one instance where you can get replies. Does it mean that we at HaDEA, we have all the wisdom? No, we are relying on delegated, decentralized desks whom we are consulting. But that, I think, is also a very important instrument. And the last instrument, often IT follows the business. That's how logical IT governance is about. But sometimes we play it the reverse way. We use IT to harmonize the business. And today, all agencies, we are operating under one funding and tenders portal. We are operating with one set of tools, and that is one more guarantee that beneficiaries have the same experience. And finally, and I will stop there, HaDEA and its staff, we have roles, we take up roles as business process owners in the implementation of the framework program. We have a business process on expert management, on proposal management, on grant management. And myself, for years, I have been the business process owner for proposal management. And today I have colleagues who are taking ownership of other business processes. And that is not only about HaDEA, this is business processes working across the framework program.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, Marc. And let me go to the conclusion because we are just 1 minute, but it's fine for the Italian average. So,
I agree.
So let me say 2 things. First of all, to thank you. I want to thank you, Marina, in your role of director of HaDEA, and you, Marc, in your role of director of HaDEA. And let's close this section with 1 point. For us as APRE, it's very important to create this link between our stakeholder and agencies, because as it was clearly stated during our conversation, in the future there were programs. In any case, the agencies will play an important role, or let me say, an essential role. And so today, it's not just matter of administrative management. It's matter to deal with an important system of organization like the agencies that has to be very well understood, very well known by stakeholders to do the best for their applications. Thanks a lot, and see you soon. And the conference is not over. Continuiamo con la conferenza in questo momento con la prossima sessione che è ancora un APRE brief, giusto? Ok. Grazie a tutti.